A big welcome to everyone today. This webinar is about sustainable manufacturing in Southeast East Asia. It is a joint industry initiative which seeks to support more sustainable and responsible manufacturing in Southeast Asian supply chains. It's really exciting opportunity for the Ethical Supply Chain Programme, and I'm so pleased to be working with the team at ICS3, ISC3, sorry, to bring this exciting opportunity to the industry. So if we can move just to the next slide, I will introduce everyone. Many of you hopefully will know me. My name's Carmel Giblin, and I am the President and CEO of the Ethical Supply Chain Programme. Joining me today on the webinar and who will be doing most of the information and speaking are Arlette Leroy, who is the project manager for Develop PPP, covering Indonesia and Vietnam, and Romina Laumann, who is the Director of Strategic Alliances at ISC3. Just to explain a little bit about those organizations, and both Romina and Arlette, I'm sure will do more of this when I hand over to them. But ISC3, for those of you who don't know, is the International Sustainable Chemistry Collaborative Centre. It is a German government initiated centre of excellence that provides technical expertise on sustainable chemistry, safer chemical use, and circular materials. Develop PPP is a German government funded program also that supports public-private partnerships where companies and non-profits work together to address sustainability and development challenges in global supply chains. I'm so delighted to have Romina and Arlette with us today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from them in a few minutes. If we move to the next slide, the agenda for the next 50 minutes or so is obviously I will cover just a brief introduction to the project and also share with you an update on our priorities here at ESCP for 2026. I'll then hand over to Romina, who will do an introduction to ISC3 and talk more about the project concept. She'll then hand over to Arlette, who will go into a lot more detail about this particular opportunity, what it is, development partnerships, and how it will all work. And then we'll come back to me to cover off the next steps in terms of how companies who are interested in pursuing this opportunity, how they can get involved. And we'll wrap up with some question and answer time. So, as I say, in the reminder, put in any questions you have at any time throughout in the chat feature. So what are we doing at ESCP this year? This isn't the purpose of today's webinar, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to share a bit of an update. The first area that is really important to all of our member community is that we will be conducting a large-scale program review. The Ethical Supply Chain Programme has been operating now for more than 20 years. Most programs who are similar to ESCP have been around about the same time. So we're all into our second decade or ending our second decade of operation. And it's important that we take time to really reflect on how supply chain labour standards and social compliance has evolved over that time and look at all the emerging technologies and the differing needs that the stakeholder community now has and ensuring that we're keeping pace with that. So launching really this month, we will start a large scale program review that will be very, very consultative and engaging with all our stakeholders community. And I'm really looking forward to working with you all on that and developing exciting new programs, exciting new technologies that really have the ambition to scale the use of the ESCP services and program broadly to far greater numbers, but also to make it a more accessible, a more efficient, and a more valuable program for you all. And actually, initiatives and collaborations with organizations like Romina's and Arlette's great examples of how we want to add increased value to our stakeholder community. The second lighter blue bubble shows that we are committed to scaling our worker wellbeing programs. Many of you will know about these worker wellbeing programs. They cover everything from our worker helpline, our initiatives around creating family-friendly workplaces, and our commitment to gender equality. We're going to significantly scale those, and we'll shortly be communicating with you all and announcing our new initiative, which is called Impact 1 Million. So we have a very big ambition for the future, and we'll be coming back to share more on that with you in the coming weeks. And the last area is around collaboration. We know that not a single organization can serve all the needs, all the sustainability and responsible sourcing needs of a large community. But we know that we can collaborate effectively with other leading organizations to make sure that we are a real source of value and a source of expertise that you can rely on. So we'll continue to seek out partnerships and understanding and collaboration agreements with organizations such as ISC3. So I think I will now move on to just sharing a little bit more about the project. So what is the project that we're talking to you about today? It's a new multi-country initiative delivered by the Ethical Supply Chain Programme in partnership with the International Sustainable Chemistry Collaborative Centre, ISC3. The purpose is to advance responsible, inclusive, and sustainable manufacturing practices in Southeast Asia. It's focused on providing practical engagement with manufacturing hubs across Vietnam, Indonesia, and other key production centres, initially with a strong emphasis on the toy industry and its global supply chains. The project will support brands in managing your environmental and social risks, building greater resilience and transparency into supply chains as regulatory and stakeholder expectations on sustainability and worker well-being intensify. The project and to those participating will offer capacity building, targeted training, technical assistance, and collaborative stakeholder engagement. It will help improve chemical management, working conditions, gender-sensitive health and safety, and the adoption of recycled materials. In terms of the benefits for brands who participate in the programme, we see many, such as strengthened ESG performance and due diligence outcomes, enhancing your ability to meet evolving sustainability commitments and reporting requirements, access to practical tools, insights, and local implementation support in key sorting regions. Shared value creation by improving worker well-being and operational sustainability across supply chains. You're probably thinking, with everything that's on agendas, is now, have I got the time now to look at a project like this? We think early engagement positions brands as leaders in ethical and sustainable manufacturing. It will help you mitigate risks upstream, foster strategic supplier partnerships, and contribute to systematic transformation aligned with global sustainable priorities. Ideally, we're looking for 4 or 5 companies to participate in this project, but it's a project that will benefit the entire toy industry and beyond. So we know that, for example, many of the factories that we're hoping to do this work with will be supplying multiple buyers. So even though we may have a core group of 4 or 5 companies closely leading this work, it will be a benefit to the whole industry. So we're really excited about how this work can support the reputation and the impact as a force for good that the toy industry can have. So that's it from me. I'll hand over now to Romina. And again, just a reminder, please use the Q&A function or the chat function at the bottom of your screens. Thank you. Over to you, Romina.
Thank you, Carmel. Thank you for the kind introductions and good afternoon. Here I'm based in Germany right now, and hello to everyone. Yes, we are really excited and enthusiastic about this new collaboration initiative. It is adding a lot of value to collaborate with ESCP. as a very well-known and successful leading organization working on sustainability in the toys sector, and for us to be able to implement tools and approaches on sustainable chemistry, specifically on the ground and in a specific sector with so much relevance as the toys industry. And yes, I want to thank Carmel and her team also for the organization of this event today, and excellent preparation. Thank you. Yes, it's promising also to see so many participants here, so many interesting organizations joining us. Because it's especially in difficult times, it's showing how important sustainability is also as a part of a business to integrate it and achieve more better market possibilities and resilient products and services. Then I would like to start with an short introduction to the ISC3, complementing what Carmel already told you about our center. The ISC3, the International Sustainable Chemistry Collaborative Center, is an international center promoting sustainable chemistry along the whole life cycle of chemicals and products to achieve a circular economy and to contribute to more sustainable development, so SDGs. It was initiated by the German Environmental Ministry and German Environmental Agency in 2017, and it's implemented by GIZ. GIZ is the German International Cooperation for Sustainable Development, which is active globally in more than 120 countries all over the world, also including some very important production hubs for the toys industry and other consumer goods. Yes, I said we promote the sustainable chemistry worldwide, and we focus on chemistry. You will see it on the right part here of this slide, because chemistry and chemical processes are surrounding us and are very important in all the products that we use in our daily lives. These chemicals, these materials that are in our products make possible that we have such a good life quality. In medicines, for example, and materials for furniture, for beauty products, for hygiene, for food, and for toys as well. But we also know that the chemicals industry and chemicals can be also a source of pollution and a threat to health and environment. And exactly that's why we are active, and we have our mission to promote chemicals and materials and products that are sustainable from the beginning, from scratch, and promote also that they are safe and they will be used correctly also. And that's why the mission is then to promote sustainable chemistry and to promote a better world through sustainable chemistry. How we do this, we are active in international policy frameworks, all the international treaties on chemicals. We are supporting more than 300 startups in our innovation hub. We co-create knowledge with partners and important sustainability initiatives and offer capacity development. And we facilitate and promote also collaborative, pre-competitive collaboration then across sectors and value chains. And exactly that's why we started to engage last year, as you will see in the next slide, also with the toys industry and dialogue. and to search collaboration with the toy sector, because it is a sector where chemical use is very high and where there is potential for improvement and more sustainable materials, and reducing also the impacts of plastics, coatings, additives, etc. So we started analyzing and getting into dialogue in this sector and identified some challenges and needs. And yes, as Carmel also introduced, the supply chains in these sectors, they are global and they are very complex. And we have a lot of hubs that are concentrated in Asia and Southeast Asia. And at the same time, with so many alternatives and chemicals that are being synthesized every day, the factories, of course, face challenges related to the use of better chemicals and the appropriate use of chemicals, which has, of course, impacts for health and safety of the workers and also environmental impacts. And we know that over 60% of workers and factories and toy factories are women. And this requires, as Carmel also introduced in the presentation of the product, gender-sensitive occupational health and safety measures. And this leads us to the needs. And the next slide, please. That factories have for more practical hands-on support and trainings to improve their production practices, as well as the brands and the industry needs also approaches that can be rolled out and are scalable and can reduce also the ESG and all the risks that are involved in the supply chain. And in the process of having conversations and dialogues around these challenges and these needs, is that we met the German manufacturer of toy figurines, Schleich. You will see that in the next slide. And had the idea of working together around these challenges in a structure, in the framework of a structured project during 2 or 3 years, with specific key performance indicators that we want to achieve in the terms of the improvements that we will arrive to, and with the objectives of supporting toy factories in Southeast Asia with a focus on Indonesia and Vietnam. And in these conversations, we identified the program develop, which is also implemented by the GIZ, the German International Corporation for Sustainable Development, as a program that could provide good technical support on the ground in these countries through GIZ structure in these countries, but also financial support. And that's why Arlette Laroy also is joining us today and would explain a bit more afterwards how the program works and how to join also this initiative. We, in our conversations with Schleich and in the process of discussing a new product idea, identified ESCP, as I said before, the Ethical Supply Chain Program, also as a leading sustainability initiative that could, yes, be a main project partner in this initiative. And that's why we reached out to Carmel also and are having this event today. So for the next slide now. So what we did is together with Schleich, we drafted a project concept with this to approach the challenges that I described before and organize a project on sustainable manufacturing in Southeast Asia. We submitted the project together to the ideas competition of the Develop program. And last year, I think it was around July. Arlette will correct me afterwards. We passed through the selection process and received a very positive feedback on the relevance of the product, but also on the qualities of the activities that we have included, and were selected from many, many other products that were presented there to be implemented. Now we have the product idea prepared for my more fine-tuning, and what we discussed and decided also with Schleich is that we have the possibility here to open this idea and this product for further brands and buyers that want to step in and collaborate together to achieve better production processes and conditions and suppliers in Southeast Asia. In the next slide, we can see a bit more than the specific objectives. It was already introduced by Carmela, but I will be giving a little bit more detail. The goal specifically from the product will be to improve the production processes and the working conditions in selected toy factories in Southeast Asia. We drafted or we proposed 5 work packages to do so. First, offering jointly development of capacities then at the factory level. That means strengthening the factory capabilities through trainings and knowledge transfer, and but also in a second packages of activities to provide technical advisory and technical support to improve chemical management and production practices to ensure also safer working conditions. We would work with factories, but also with some selected intermediate institutions that help us then afterwards to roll out and to disseminate to more factories. And we also included the increase promotion of increased use of sustainable recycled materials and recycled material content in the product design and manufacturing. Also based on very positive developments and an initiative that ESCP has started and that we would like to further develop on use of recycled material. And as we mentioned before, we would like to also include packages of activities to promote gender-sensitive occupational health and safety, including specifically female-friendly grievance mechanisms. And a very important further package is to anchor sustainability expectations, a set of practices that we extract as a learning lessons learned and can be also rolled out to more factories and to other brands also. And that means anchoring these practices across the global toy industry and key stakeholders with set of practices that are already proven and successful. In the next slide, you will see here that we already drafted some key indicators to represent what we could achieve at the end of the project duration of 2 to 3 years working together. And that also illustrates what are the benefits for both sustainable development in these countries, but also success, business success then for the involved brands and companies in general that would join us. We plan to qualify then training staff in the partner countries that will be trained then after the product and can also be involved in the rolled out or scaling this product. at the end of the implementation, we would also reach at around 9,000 people that have improved their working conditions. That means the conditions then in the factories would, yes, mean improved working conditions for at least 9,000 people, including 6,700 women. And we would also make a contribution to green transition goals and supporting the toy industry, for example, by saving then greenhouse emissions then annually. We calculated for the product duration 3,500 ton of greenhouse gas emissions. And cost reductions also at the level of the factories, for example, for conserving and processing then water and also recycled materials, delivering also good business cases and motivations for factories to join these activities, that it makes sense for them. And yes, all this would, of course, yes, like Carmel also mentioned, be a contribution to more collaboration and partnerships, and being more efficient than delivering sustainability standards together, and making a contribution to a more sustainable manufacturing processes in the hubs mentioned then. And the next slide, please. Well, we, in the product design, drafted roles and possible contributions of the different parties joining this product. We drafted this based on the participation of Schleich as a brand, but of course it applies and can be changed depending a bit on the interest of other brands that want to join the initiative. For the ethical supply chain program, the ESCP, we thought their role is to engage with the toy factories and buyer networks to lead the processes for factory level implementation and consulting and support, and to manage the day-to-day product operations and monitor progress. Our ISC3 and GIZ in general would be responsible for providing sustainable chemistry expertise and technical content. For example, to co-develop trainings and hence practical, easy-to-use tools for better chemicals and appropriate use of chemicals also, to lead the overall product management, monitoring and impact evaluation, and to open also GIZ networks and partners that can help anchor knowledge locally so it can be used then in further activities even after project end. And also to deliver train-the-trainer formats that help to scale up and local capacity building in an efficient way. In the next slides, you will see, based on the participation of Schleich, we drafted what would be then the contributions of the private sector, meaning the brands and buyers that join this product, in contributing technical know-how and, of course, the specifications to specific products, to co-develop, include this technical know-how for the development of trainings, and ensure responsible procurement, provide expertise also involving knowledge from suppliers upstream the value chain. For example, companies that provide chemicals, and engage in sectoral dialogue around sustainability practices and standards when we go to the dissemination of the activities that we have implemented. That means overall, all in all, that drive the industry leadership for the product and also the supplier engagement then. And we also planned that factories joining this project would, of course, participate in the pilots, be part of the trainings, and benefit also from the on-site assessments, implement this technical support for an improved chemical management and occupational health and safety, and overall sustainability practices, for example, on the use of water in the factories. Introduce also recycled and sustainable materials and the production processes, and establish and maintain the gender-sensitive grievance mechanisms that we would here support and introduce. And that will be then the examples of the roles. Where we are now is after presenting this project proposal and getting selected for implementation, we have a positive indication for approximately a public funding contribution through the program of approximately 450,000 euros for the product. And this requires matchmaking private contributions from the private sector, that mean for other brands like Schleich and buyers that want to join us. Arlette will give us afterwards examples or more explanation what a private in-kind contribution is. And yes, we're currently inviting additional brands that want to join this initiative and work in a team for 2 to 3 years project. And we see this as a huge opportunity for us, ISC3 and ESCP, to advance an initiative that will improve sustainability overall in the toys sector. But it's also a very interesting opportunity for companies to participate and shape the product concept right now to implement it afterwards then together. And yes, with that, I would hand on to Arlette Laroy to explain a bit more in detail what the Develop program is and what this kind of how this kind of partnerships work. Thanks, Arlette.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hello and welcome also from my side. So I'm excited to introduce to you the Develop program. So the Develop program is a funding program by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development that has been run for more than 25 years already. And this program addresses companies that wish to invest sustainably in a developing or emerging country and who wants to expand their local operations. So BMZ assists projects with technical and financial support worth up to 2 million euro. However, the public sector contribution may not exceed 50% of the overall budget. And as GIZ, we can support projects with competent advice, with on-site support, and of course with our huge network in the partner countries. And the Develop program is available worldwide in over 60 developing and emerging countries. So Develop means business meets sustainable development. So the overall idea is to create a win-win situation for both the public and the private sector. And to qualify for the support under the Develop program, there have to be long-term business interest in the country on the one side, and sustainable development benefits for the local people on the other side. So to join the Develop program, there must be minimum requirements have to be met by the company. So the company must be registered in the EU, EFTA, or a developing or emerging country. The company must be privately owned and profit-orientated, and the company's financial reliability must be approved. So to be able to jointly implement the project, there must be enough staff and financial resources. And therefore, we are asking for an annual turnover of at least 800,000 euro and minimum 8 employees. And since we want to cooperate with established companies, we ask for 2 annual financial statements to prove that the company has been on the market for at least 2 years. Yeah, and there are also minimum requirements that have to be met by the project itself. So the project country must be on the BMZ country list. So when we send to you the presentation of this webinar, you will find also in the notes a link to the BMZ country list. But I can already tell you that, for example, countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, India, Laos, they are all partner countries and therefore eligible for develop. Another criteria is that there must be a long-term business interest, but the project should not be directly relevant for the company's earnings. So that means we cannot support the core business of a company, such as developing new products. So this is, for example, not possible. Yeah, another important criteria is that we want to contribute long-term to the sustainable development goals. And yeah, another criteria is subsidiarity. That means we can only support projects which would not be implemented anyways. So, for example, if they are required by law. So we only support projects that really need the support from GIZ. Yeah, the next point is very obvious. The project design must be coherent and realistic, and the results should be measurable. There should be a good cost-benefit ratio, so a good value for money. And of course, all the projects we are implementing should be sustainable. So with a developed project, we aim to create long-term structures that ensure the sustainability of the results and to achieve long-term impact. Yeah, and with developed projects, we also want to contribute to the BMZ priority areas. And this is with the new government, it's a focus on economic cooperation, climate and the environment. And the project should also serve German and European interests. Yes. So, and now it's getting into more details. So what is the contractual basis for developed projects? The contractual basis is a cooperation agreement. And as part of a cooperation agreement is that GIZ and the private company plan the project together and define concrete work packages. And these work packages and activities, they are divided among the project partners and implemented jointly, but at own expense. And with this type of contract, no money flows between the project partners. So we have also a small graphic that shows that only costs that are directly related to the project are eligible for matching. And these costs must be clearly defined and calculated in the project budget. And yeah, and so the contribution to the project can be in kind, like in the form of services, personal costs, or in cash. And just let me give you a few examples. So costs that we can match are like personal costs, traveling expenses, material cost, training cost for the target group, and also operating cost. So what cannot be matched is, for example, costs for your core business, marketing and advertising costs for your products, research and development for new products, taxes or costs for specific risks. So the main idea is, there is no money flow between the project partners, and the project partners can contribute to the project in kind or in cash. Yeah, so, and here the next slide shows that there are different partner constellations. So there can be just one private partner and GIZ, but there can be also several private partner companies who all fulfill the minimum criteria and implement jointly the project. This is like the first alternative. The second alternative is to set up in a consortium in case that one or more companies that want to participate do not fulfill the minimum criteria, which I had mentioned before. If this is the case, then we can set up a consortium, and at least one company has to fulfill the minimum criteria. So the good thing about having several private partners is that the 50% rule applies to the total amount of all private partner contributions. That means we can match the total sum of all the private partners. And for the individual enterprise, this means that their share can be less than 50%. Yes, and in addition to the private companies, there are also other kind of partners who can participate in the project as so-called third parties. These can be co-financiers who increase the project with additional budget, but also implementation partners who take over certain tasks during the implementation of the project. And third-party partners, this can be NGOs, foundations, associations, political institutions, cooperatives, for example, in agricultural projects, or educational institutes such as universities and TVET projects. So there are different constellations possible. So, and the next slide, this slide now shows how developed projects are created. So they are selected during regular held ideas competitions, which take place always at the end of the first quarter and at the end of the third quarter of each year. So there are 5 steps, and step 1, application, and step 2, selection, is already successfully completed. As already mentioned, Schleich has jointly developed with us a project idea and submitted it via online application platform. And when we reviewed all the project ideas that were handed in, this project was selected to be further developed. And now we are at the stage that we are looking for additional companies to join the project and to bring in their expertise and also contribute financially. And we are looking forward to your indication of interest by the end of February 2026. The next step would then be the approval from our ministry, the BMZ, on the additional private partners and perhaps also additional funds. The next step would then be the elaboration process. So for the time being, we have the first project concept, which then would be jointly with the new project partners further developed. We would also have a have to develop a detailed project plan with detailed work packages and activities, and of course responsibilities and deadlines. Then we would also develop a project budget and also a table of key performance indicators. And after a final internal quality assessment, which we would hold by end of April 2026, we would enter into the contract preparation and signing process and the plan is to do this by mid-May 2026. And the idea is to design a project with a maximum term of 3 years. The final step would then be the project kickoff and start of implementation, and we aim for such a start on the 1st of June 2026. Yeah, that's for the time being all from my side. With this, I would like to hand over to Carmel again, and I'm happy to answer your questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlette. There was certainly a lot of detailed information shared from you and Romina there. So thank you for all that. It's a lot for us all to go through. On this slide, I'm just sharing the next steps for anyone. As I said at the start of this presentation, we will send out the presentation and also a recording of this. So you'll be able to flip through the recording and focus on the bits that you really want to hear again and understand more about. We will also share the questions, all the questions that have been asked, and there have been a lot of questions asked. So we will put those all into a document because we will take a few live today, but we won't have time to do them all live today. So all the questions that have been asked will be answered and sent to you along with the recording and a copy of this presentation. But just some immediate next steps. So what we'd like you to do is take some time after the webinar and review all the information that Romina and Arlette have shared in their presentations. Think about whether it's relevant for your company. And if you do have any questions, if you're still unsure, then you can contact our colleague, Anya McCarthy, who leads our program management office at the Ethical Supply Chain Program and will be responsible for the delivery of this project and the oversight of this project once we move into that stage. So Anya will be able to answer any of your questions or work with Romina and Arlette to get you the answers that you need to help you make a decision. But if you already know that you're ready and you want to sign up and be part of this initial set of leaders who are moving this project forward, then you can do so now. So just scan the QR code and that will take you to a form that you just complete. Again, it's not committing you at this stage, but it is showing that it's registering, if you like, your desire to be considered and part of that early leadership group. So we can register your intention and then come back to you and talk it through. So you're not committing yet, but you're certainly registering interest. Then we'll have a kickoff call with project partners and interested parties. And that's when you can get into thinking about nominating your suppliers. So those are some immediate next steps. Like I say, I know there's an awful lot of information to digest. So take your time to do that and reach out if you do have any questions for us. But I will run through and ask some questions while we've got a few minutes left on today's webinar. A question that has come through, Romina, Arlette, you may be the best people rather than me to answer this question. People also have suppliers in India and China that they would be interested in participating and nominating to participate. Are those countries included or excluded from this particular project? So specifically, that was India and China.
Yeah, thank you for this question. So actually, India is a partner country. Unfortunately, China is not. So we cannot implement projects in China. And if there would be Chinese company who would like to join forces with us, we could not match their contribution. We would have to get approval also from our ministry if they could participate as third partners. But generally, I would say it's more difficult with trade partners. Yeah.
And similar, so India, yes, but China, not for this particular program. That's fine. Sorry,
Can I add
Romina.
one thing to that? I think it's important also in theory, India as possible, but it depends also on the interests specific of the brands and buyers that would like to join if they have an interest in this particular country. And one recommendation when you start a new initiative like this is then not to put so many countries at the beginning, let's say, because it makes complicated, of course, the start, let's say, of implementation, but more like include for rollout measures. And related to this, I saw one question on anchoring. How could it work after product end, and how do we ensure that factories are, let's say, yes, in the position of working after the product end with these activities? And this is a very important one, and is one of our goals. Also, the part of the strategy working with ESCP, it's an institution, it's an initiative that has such a long experience, and it's a possibility to anchor all these activities and lessons learned and knowledge generated to disseminate to further stakeholders and interested factories and brands also for us. So just adding to the question and maybe answering a further one that I saw in the chat.
Great, thank you, Romina. Just again, in sort of support of the question around geographical participation, there was also a question about sectoral and category participation. So we know that the toy industry is particularly involved in sustainability and the use of chemicals, etc., in production processes. What about other product categories, for example, apparel or furniture? Could they participate in this program?
In theory, also, but we would recommend that so to a bit and start with the toy sector, and then extend. I mean, we have some interfaces at the material side that can be used for other industries. Of course, material use is not the same. It's similar, and we have some connections also with electronics, for example, when you speak about electronic toys, right? But some specifications are very different, and we would say our recommendation would be to start with the toy industry also. It is a project we presented, submitted for develop as a toy industry initiative.
Excellent. And I think just generally, we're always about sharing best practice, learnings and insights. So although we might focus on the toy industry, we would be very open about communicating the impacts this has had and the learnings and how other product categories can participate. We are very close to running out of time, so I'm just going to ask, I think, two further questions, and let's try and keep our answers fairly succinct so we can get them in before time runs out. And like I say, all the other questions that have been raised, we will draft responses to and share that with everyone who's registered for today's webinar. One question though, and it's an important question because I know cost is key and front of everyone's mind at the moment. What cost is involved, and can you clarify what payment in kind means?
Thank you also. That's a good question. So payment in kind means with this kind of contract that we would conclude, the cooperation agreement, there are no audits or no, like we are not checking the expenses there is only a report which is based on trust, where the companies show which kind of cost they have spent. For example, personal cost. This is clearly in-kind contribution because it's related to services. Looking at, for example, procurement or like assets, this is, of course, this is a cash contribution by the company, but nevertheless, this will not be audited by us. So in-kind contribution means it's related to services and not so much to cash. I hope that made it a bit clearer.
Yeah. And in the follow-up, we will put a bit more detail in that question because I know it's a critical question for everyone to assess whether they can participate in the program. So we'll put more details around that. One very final question that's come through that again I think is pretty important is, will any information on the products I produce in my factory be shared? So I think this is a question about maybe sharing best practice, but on the reverse of that, how do we ensure that confidentiality and business confidentiality and IP, for example, is protected through this project? It may be too early to answer that question. It may be in the detail that we need to work through, but if anyone's got an immediate response to that, it would be great to share it.
No, I would say very fast, no commercial sensitive information should be shared and is not typical of this kind of projects, initiatives. So no, it won't be shared, but it goes more on information that includes material use and practices also for social standards, etc. Then that's yeah, but we can answer more in detail in the document, I think, because of the
Okay.
time.
Just one small amendment. We are aware that confidentiality is very important, and we have been running many projects already with several private partners, and we always make sure that company-related confidential issues will not be shared with the other partners. And we can also make sure this this is also part of the contract, and also in regular meetings this can be also like discussed beforehand and also signed by each and everybody, so that confidential information does not go will be kept with the company or within the partner constellation. Yes.
Great. Thanks, Alet. Thanks, Romina. It's I think we're now at the end of our time slot. So in respect of everyone's time, we will end it there. I do think this is a really exciting opportunity for ESCP community stakeholders to secure the benefits and some funding that's available, and supporting that funding with in-kind responses, which means that we can kind of get greater value from this project together. I think it's a really exciting project, and I'm hoping that we can move forward with it, and we will have many companies express an interest. I know there is a lot of detail to understand and to go through, and we'll make sure that any of your questions are answered. We'll also, I guess it's just worth remembering or pointing out that we're at the early start of this process. So a lot of how it will work, the processes that will follow, the timelines, the content, etc., will still be worked through with you. So this is an opportunity for you to get involved really early on and help design the program as well. So I'd encourage you to think about that as a great opportunity for you and your supply chain. So thank you very much for your attention and participation today. I hope you found this an interesting hour of your time. Thanks to Romina and Arlette for your contributions and indeed for bringing this opportunity to the ESCP community. We'll send you the webinar, the question answers, and any other informations and the PowerPoint shortly after this presentation. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your days wherever you are. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you for your interest. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.